Hello, students of historical theology. I have enjoyed getting to know you over this past week. I hope it has been a fun week for you. I hope you've enjoyed the reading and the videos. Speaking of the videos, I had to change the syllabus slightly. Now, I emailed everybody at their TKU email address, but I'm not sure how frequently you check your address, and so just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. I had to change the syllabus slightly. It showed narrated PowerPoints, which was my original intention because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull off videos, but it looks like the videos were working out okay. If you have any feedback on that, obviously let me know. If the videos aren't working out for you for whatever reason, like if you need me to send or to upload audio only or something like that, then just let me know if that'll work better for you. So I changed the syllabus where it says narrated PowerPoints. I changed it to indicate lecture videos. I also made a change because it had an email address on there that was not accurate. And so I changed that to my TKU address. And so in the future, if you can communicate with me through that address, that would be helpful. The biggest change is the reading. And so the reading for Hill specifically, the page numbers were off just slightly. And so, for instance, for this second week, you would have read up to almost the end of the chapter, and you would have stopped about 4 pages short of the chapter, which doesn't make any sense at all. So I apologize for that mistake. I'm not sure how I made that, but nonetheless, I made it. So I've updated the syllabus with those 3 things. So if you can download that new syllabus, it is the syllabus that I emailed to all of you. So if you've downloaded that already, then you've got it. If not, you can download that either from your email address or from Blackboard. Okay. And so that's the first little bit of housekeeping that we've got to deal with here at the beginning of the week. There's a few other things, though, that I wanted to talk to you about before we get into the patristic era. Just a couple of things. One, I'm a little behind on my videos, and so I'm going to probably have the videos for this week done by the middle of the week. And so what I'd like you to do is just focus on the reading in the meantime. And as a result, since the forum is supposed to be reflection on the reading and the lecture videos, you may not have as much to reflect on. And so what I'm going to do for this week, and only for this week, is I'm going to make the reflection off of this week and last week. Okay? And so if you want to post in the forums about anything you read in McGrath or Fairbairn from last week, anything that I said in any of the videos from last week, you can do that. Or if you want to interact with anything from this week, feel free to do either of those. Okay, just need to see some interaction there. But like last week, I'll give you sort of a sample forum post so you can see what I'm looking for, and then you can kind of model your response based on that. Okay. Additionally, each week I'm going to try to provide you with further resources if you're interested in the topic or you want to do further research or anything like that. But I forgot to do that at the end of last week, and so just want to give you a couple of things that if you're really interested in the topic, a few things that you can kind of dig into as far as the apostolic period is concerned. Gregory Beal is a really well-known New Testament scholar in the field of the New Testament's use of the Old Testament. And so his work has really been influential on my perspective of that topic. In particular, along with a fellow by the name of D.A. Carson, he wrote a book called The Commentary of the New Testament's Use of the Old Testament. And this is a massive tome, but it is incredibly awesome. And so if you're interested at all in understanding how a quotation in the New Testament is functioning, when an author uses the Old Testament in the New Testament, if you're curious about that commentary is incredibly helpful for that. Beal has done a significant amount of work outside of that book, and so anything that you read by him is likely going to cover New Testament quotations of the Old Testament. And so anything you read by him will be helpful. Additionally, there is a website called biblicaltraining.org, and biblicaltraining.org has free classes that are not credit classes, but basically if you're just interested in the content, you can go to their website and you can download lessons. And Greg Beal, has a lesson on their website that is incredibly helpful. It's on biblical theology, and he goes through a lot of New Testament quotation and allusions to the Old Testament. And so you can go to this link and you can download that, and it's incredibly helpful. I've listened through those lectures probably 2 or 3 times each, and it's just really insightful, really helpful. Beal is a Calvinist, and so if you do not agree with that particular system of theology, that will come through in some of his writings and some of his lectures. But he's not overbearing about it, and as long as you're just aware of that going in, it shouldn't pose any problem. One of the things that you need to learn to do in theology is to listen to people that you don't agree with and learn from them in spite of your disagreements. And so this would be good practice for you. Echoes of Scripture and the Letters of Paul by Richard Hayes is sort of a seminal work on the New Testament's use of the Old Testament. Any course that covers that topic is likely going to use that book, and that book is incredibly helpful when it comes to that as well. And then finally, a friend of mine who founded the Society of Evangelical Arminians. Arminian would be the soteriological stance that stands diametrically opposed to Calvinism. Calvinism being the teachings of John Calvin, generally speaking, and holds to things like total depravity and conditional election, limited atonement, irresistible grace, and perseverance of the saints. Generally, predestination is sort of the thing that people focus on, even though Calvin himself didn't actually focus on it all that much. Arminianism stands opposed to that and holds to a notion of predestination, but not the same sort of notion of predestination that Calvinism holds. And so it's very likely, if you are not a Calvinist, whether you know this or not, you are likely an Arminian. And that's not Armenian, which is an ethnicity. This is Arminian. Dr. Brian Abishano founded the Society of Evangelical Arminians, and his doctoral dissertation at the University of Aberdeen in Scotland is Paul's use of the Old Testament in Romans 9, 1 through 9. He's also written a second volume, I believe it's 9, 10 through 16, and he's working on a third volume, though it's not out yet. His first volume is actually available for free in PDF form at the website for the Society of Evangelical Arminians, and his work on the New Testament's use of the Old Testament has helped me out tremendously. He was actually a student of Greg Beal's, and so it's just interesting to read him using the methodology that he learned from Beal and arriving at conclusions that in many ways are significantly in opposition to what Beal would teach. Okay, and so those are some of the resources that I would recommend as far as the Apostolic Age is concerned. They're very helpful, and I would recommend them highly. Another resource that I would recommend, sort of as far as the entire course is concerned, not just the Apostolic Age, but church history in general. This is just a fantastic resource that I'm blown away by, and I use it on a regular basis. And this is the YouTube channel by Dr. Ryan Reaves. And Dr. Reaves is a former professor of mine. I took church history from the Reformation with him. Usually seminary courses divide church history by the Reformation, and so you go patristic up to the Reformation, and then from the Reformation up to the modern era. And so I took that second course with him, Reformation to the Modern Era. And he's just a brilliant scholar, and to be quite honest with you, his videos put mine to shame. And so you may be less satisfied with my video editing abilities once you watch some of what Dr. Reaves has to put out there. But after all, he has a doctorate from Cambridge, so he's allowed to beat me. I'm okay with that. Doesn't hurt my ego that much. So if you want to check out his YouTube channel, that will be a great help for you in kind of drilling down into some of the specifics, in particular historical periods that we're going to be studying. It's just a really helpful resource for you. Now, none of these are resources that you are required to use, but I just want to give these for you. If we were in a traditional 15-week course, we may spend some time dealing with some of these, but we're kind of in a sprint here to the finish line, and so we're just kind of blazing past some of these things. But I just want you to be aware of them. Okay. And finally, the one thing that I want you to be aware of is, from an instructor's perspective, I kind of want to help you as much as I can, and so I want to provide my lecture notes for you at the close of each week. And so I've attached my lecture notes in Blackboard for last week. One thing that you'll notice is my lecture notes don't perfectly line up with my lectures. I tend to ramble a little bit when I get talking, and so there are things that I talk about that aren't in the lecture notes, and there are things in the lecture notes that I forget to talk about for whatever reason, and so it won't line up perfectly, but hopefully it'll be helpful for you as you are looking through your notes and kind of trying to organize them a little bit. Being able to look at my lecture notes will help. And then I'll also have, links and that sort of thing for anything that I use, anything that I've shared. Like, for instance, the church growth maps that I used in the lecture for the apostolic period, I've got those embedded in a Word document for my lecture notes. And so I've converted that to a PDF, and I've uploaded that to Blackboard, and so hopefully that'll be helpful for you. As we continue through the course, if there's anything that you find cumbersome, or anything that you look at and you think, I'm not sure how this is supposed to work, just please let me know. I'm more than willing to change things so long as it's agreeable to everybody in the class. If there's something that would work better a different way, then feel free to make those sorts of suggestions. I want to make sure that this learning environment is conducive for your edification as a believer and as a minister of the gospel. And so anything that I can do to facilitate that, I'm more than willing to do that. Okay, so feel free to email me at my TKU address and let me know, or you can set up a time to Skype with me, set up a time to call me, any of those sorts of things. I'm more than willing to do that. Okay. So that takes care of the housekeeping. Let's go ahead and get started with the patristic era, and that'll come in our next video.